Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our third session of the Thursday in the build-up to Athena 2022. Very, very excited to be joined by our amazing sponsors, OpenBet. I will pass over to Xavier soon, but just a few kind of housekeeping things as with any of these sessions. If you have any questions throughout for any of the team, let us know in the chat and I'll be sure to pass them on. If you have any questions watching it back, you can let us know on Discord. So OpenBet have their own channel. And I think on there you can find their theme and their prizes and stuff like that as well. So definitely worth checking out. And the final note before I hand over is make sure you follow their hub. I'll post the link in the chat now. It's got a couple of really cool career opportunities. Their projects will be on there and we'll kind of begin to populate and upload content. So make sure you give that a follow if you haven't already. But I'll stop rambling and I'll pass over to you, Xavier. And if you need anything, let me know.
Thanks very much, Alex. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I'm Xavier Bourguignon. I'm Learning and Development Manager here at OpenBet. My background isn't originally in IT and tech, but more in hospitality and catering. But you know, what else would you expect from a French guy? I used to be a chef. At the age of 24, I decided to change career and go into IT. And after 4 years at uni, and getting a degree in computing science, I joined OpenBet. So I've been at OpenBet for a long, long time now. Been here doing multitude of jobs from junior developer, dev manager, going through testing, QA. But I've now settled for the last few years into L&D, which I absolutely love. Learning and development is great. I'm joined today by three of my colleagues, Helen, Marta, and Christina. I'll ask them to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about their tech journey for a minute. And then once introductions are over, the format of our webinar will be more like a panel interview / discussion. Since the hackathon is about women in tech, I'll be asking each of my colleagues questions related to women in tech. Their answers should hopefully provide you with valuable information on how to get into this domain. That will last about 30 to 40 minutes, and at the end of which you'll be able to ask us your questions. If there's a really important question that comes up during the discussion, Alex will interrupt us and will ask the question on your behalf. We'll do our best to answer those as accurately as we can. And at the end of the talk, if there's a little bit of time, I'll take a minute or two to tell you about our challenge, which is titled A Safer Betting Experience. But like Alex mentioned earlier, there's information already available to you online. So let's start. Helen, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your tech journey so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Zav. Welcome, everybody. I'm Helen Whitaker. I'm the QA manager in what's called the Bet pillar in OpenBet. My journey in tech started way back just after I'd finished my degree. In fact, I didn't actually do a degree in IT or computing or anything like that. I was studying linguistics. So the study of language acquisition, both as a child, as an adult second language learner, things like when you have a brain injury, what part of your language might be affected. But when I finished that course, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a job. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher, and I didn't have any money, so I couldn't go on to do a language speech therapy course, which would be the other opportunity for me. So I went and started applying for jobs, and I got an admin job with an insurance company locally. In fact, we were doing the administration of their business lines. They had a number of business lines, and each one had its own computer system. And they decided they wanted to merge those into one system. And very bravely, they decided they were going to develop that in-house. They weren't going to buy it off the shelf. And I got involved initially in that as to whether the system would enable me to do my day-to-day job and administer the business. But after 6 months or so, they decided that they needed their own test team, and they invited me to join that team. So I learned and grew from there, took the ISTQB Foundation, and realised that testing was my home, that I really enjoyed it. And so from there, I've moved on to work for companies such as Total Jobs and Just Eat. I've tested, obviously, administration systems, money and finance stuff, job boards, And then in 2014, I moved to OpenBet, and I've been here ever since, working initially for 5 years as a QA lead on one of the customer teams. So dealing directly with one of our clients, finding out what their requirements are, what they wanted, testing that, doing demos to them and supporting them through their user acceptance testing. And then in 2021, I got a promotion into the QA manager role, which is where I am now. So I'm building a team of QA leads and testers to cover 18 feature teams. We're developing a lot of functionality for the product and then providing that to the different customers to test in their customer environments ready to go live. So yeah, an accidental journey initially into tech, but once I got there and found that the detail and the investigative elements of the testing role really fit with the way I look at things and the way I analyze stuff, has meant that it's definitely been my home. I'm very happy in tech.
Very interesting journey indeed. Marta?
Hello. So my name is Marta Nisztir, and my journey to tech is maybe more straightforward. So I did computer science degree, and then after that I have joined OpenBet, and then stayed there ever since. So I have joined into a graduate scheme. And then from there, I progressed to the senior software engineer. So so from computer science degree then to my sort of job in OpenBet, I have stayed all the time to actually be technical, and yeah, I pretty much enjoy what I do. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's interesting you started as a graduate effectively. It shows, and you've progressed quite a lot in a few years. So it shows that, at OpenBet, and like in many other companies, you can progress internally quite a lot. And this is one of the things that appeals to people. Christina?
Yes. Hi, my name is Christina Gavril. I'm an L2 software engineer at OpenBet. My path to this career wasn't as straightforward as Marta's. So actually from childhood, I grew up surrounded by pets, and I knew from young childhood that I wanted to be a vet. So my first degree is veterinary medicine. I studied 6 years. I have a master's degree in that area. But soon after moving to the UK, it proved that all my knowledge in this domain is not accredited here. So my diploma was not accredited in the UK. And from that moment, I started thinking about switching careers. And since I had a lot of friends and also a lot of female examples in this industry in IT, I had a clear vision what steps I need to take in order to achieve a career in this industry. So I did that. I did computer science degree here in the UK. I studied, I applied to internships and trainings during that time. And then I joined OpenBet as a graduate. So this is my path in this domain.
Thanks. Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions, and I think people listening to us and watching us will be interested in the answers. I've got a few questions for you, but we can also discuss a little bit further and extrapolate. So the first thing I want to ask really is, and answer whoever wants to answer first is fine. What challenges have you faced in the workplace, especially your experience in a male-dominated environment, which it still is nowadays, unfortunately? So I don't know, whoever wants to answer first, go ahead.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there are definitely challenges, as you said. It's still a male-dominated industry. Definitely, your knowledge level is sometimes questioned. Getting people to listen to you in meetings or take on board your viewpoints can sometimes be a little bit difficult. The way that men and women communicate. The way they use conversation is very different. The responses that women give in conversations, we give a lot of minimal responses, ums and things like that, which men sometimes take as agreement, which it doesn't necessarily mean it is. It means we're listening to you. We're taking on board what you're talking about. Whereas a man will be very much, yep. You say, you mean yes, you're with me. And you're like, no, not necessarily that. So I think it can sometimes be misunderstandings introduced in conversations, and getting your viewpoint across with people listening to you. I think men are some of them can be very strong, and they want to get their viewpoint across, and they are thinking about what they're going to say rather than listening to what you might have to say. So I think that's what I notice a lot in the meetings I have. If there's a lot of men in the meeting and there's only me, that's what I see as a challenge.
Okay, Marta, any views on this?
Well, so my view is that obviously not having too many women you can relate to, it can be sometimes a very lonely place. So over many years, I have really felt that I am like a minority. It really felt like the tech industry can be a bit overwhelming from that aspect. It would be great if there was more sort of female mentors and other females you could relate to. That would actually, especially when you first join. Obviously, once you sort of develop your career is completely different, but at the sort of the entrance level. So I think that's So that's pretty much difficult part where you join the industry where it's male oriented.
And you, Christina, any challenges in that area?
I'm not sure if this is a challenge related to my personality or to women in general, but I find it hard to be more assertive, to convey more confidence in my knowledge, and so basically, I still learn how to develop those skills. And there's a lot of times when I will know the answer, I will be pretty insecure about saying something about it, because I always think like there will be somebody else who knows more or can explain it better or something like that. So this is a personality trait I have to work on, and I'm conscious about it very often. But other than that, I can relate to what Martha said. So we definitely need more female examples in this domain, and it will building on those female experience. It will build our confidence as well.
I understand. Yeah, and what do you guys think could be done, not just at OpenBet, but anywhere else in any company, to show, to let men know that maybe the way they're behaving, I'm not saying it's super bad, but the way they're behaving is not necessarily conducive to good business practice or to exchange of ideas? I mean, is there anything, have you ever mentioned that to anybody? Have you directly said to someone after a meeting? Have you discussed that with them?
No. Well, I mean, it is. I think it's difficult to, to be minority, and at the same time try to sort of, assert, yourself. This is a very difficult thing to do. I think it's more like the chicken egg situation where you wish there were more women, but there are no more women because there aren't. It's like it's so for the many years I've been in industry, it always felt like the bound to be more women joining soon, and then and it doesn't feel like there have been more women. Like well, maybe in quite like last 5 years to 10 years that there may be some like steady growth, but yes, there aren't enough just simply women, and so then aren't enough women who could actually mentor other women.
Yes. And I think you're right. Over the years, there's a steady growth, but it's very steady and it's not fast enough. Although it seems in the last year, strangely enough, after the pandemic, it seems to be apparently increasing quite a lot. So let's keep an eye on this. It's going to be very interesting.
Also, maybe we need to take into account that besides our struggles in the industry, we are already here. So maybe we have to think more about what we can do from this position to encourage more women in joining. So one thing I can think of, and I am trying to develop the skill, is conducting interviews. It can be very encouraging for a female interviewing if there is another female as interviewer. So I think maybe we should encourage more the people that are already working in OpenBet, the females, to be involved more in interviewing. And also maybe, I don't know how to do it, to be honest, but maybe being more visible, so people can see and feel more encouraged to apply to our company because it will seem more like a place where they will feel
That's right.
at home.
Yeah, that I think that is the key point, Christina, is the visibility. I think that's a lot of the problem is we don't show ourselves as much. We work on what we're working on, and we don't look at what's out there. There's lots of meetups and things starting to happen again now that the world is opening up after COVID, and I think it's important that we ourselves and other women in tech get out into those arenas and show we're here, we're working in this industry, we're enjoying it, you can enjoy it. And I think, overall, we need to try and create those kinds of groups and forums that we can encourage women to come in and join us and talk to us. Like today, that's why we're all here, is to show ourselves and to offer the opportunity for women thinking about coming into tech to ask us questions about what it's really like on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much. I mean, I think it leads nicely into my next question, which was, do you believe enough is being done to assist girls and women in entering the tech industry? And if not, what do you think we should do more of to encourage girls and women to consider a career in tech? And when I say we, I mean all of us as a general population. What can we do as a country, as the world? What can we do?
I mean, I think for myself, looking at what was encouraged, I think you need to go right back to the schools. Career advice that was given to girls when I was at school, is hopefully got better, but I think we need to put a lot more focus on schools encouraging girls to think about going into the tech industry and giving them opportunities to go for work placements in those types of roles and seeing what we do on a day-to-day basis, so that we get that far back, because it's very early in your school career you start thinking about what you're going to take for your GCSEs or A levels or whatever the equivalent is in the country that you're living in. So you have to think about those things when you're 13, 14. So if we start talking and getting schools to talk about tech as an opportunity, as well as some of those other more traditional roles that women would have thought about, I think that is a really good place to start. And obviously going into the universities, when they look at careers, opportunities, and all those kind of open days they have about what you might do after university, bringing those discussions into play so that they see us as a true opportunity, a true area that they can look at.
Yes. I think it starts very early on at primary school as well. Having an 11-year-old son, I can see that things are different now than they used to be. I'm 50 years old, and 35 years ago, when I was advised of things, we were talking about mathematics and science, but then I heard the teacher talking to friends, to girls in the class, about completely different things. And nowadays, it's not what you hear anymore, even at primary school, which is good. But it takes time as a population and as a generation for things to change.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. Any other, Christina, Marta, any ideas, any views on this?
I do agree with Helen. It needs to start early, and I think in the UK now there are more people are more cautious about it, and there are a lot of projects encouraging women and girls, especially, into the STEM career path. When I was in school, I was about 12 years old, and we have had informatics in school. We studied Turbo Pascal at that time. So there were some boys that were good at it, and the teacher would encourage them and help them. And for the girls, it was considered like you won't need it. So if you don't know how to do something, it's okay. It's nothing bad. So we got less attention and less support from our teachers. So I hope a lot of things changed since then. And yeah, starting from young age and encouraging girls to follow this path, it's very important.
Do you guys think that the industry itself, so not the indication side of things, but do you think the industry has changed since you've started? I mean, some of you might not have been in the industry for a huge amount of time, a long time, but do you think it's changing?
Yes, definitely. I think, you know, when I joined the industry, I think it has changed, like in a way that, you know, like the transition to mobile, let's say, and the sort of a big data. Now the future looks like the AI and automation and things like this. So obviously when I started, it felt like it was a very small industry. But now it does seems like it has grown to, you know, to kind of affect quite a lot of areas of our lives. So yeah, I mean, I see a huge change, and that actually comes also with the fact that there are more jobs in tech, which actually not really tech related as well. So like not really technology in the sense that you don't have to be very technical to actually work in tech, which I suppose is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Christina, Helen, any views on things have changed over time?
I mean, yeah, definitely. In the time that I've been in the industry, it's changed a huge amount. As Marta said, you know, AI, all these kinds of things have really opened things up. I think it's very exciting, the amount of opportunities and possibilities there are these days. Definitely, you know, there was 2 or 3 different languages that you would write things in the old days, and now obviously there's various different things and lots of free source tools that you can use. You know, you don't have to have all these paid things that cost a lot of money. There's a lot of open source stuff out there. There's lots of communities to talk to other like-minded tech people. So I think, yeah, it's very exciting. If we can get women involved in those, you know, it's definitely going to be really positive.
Yeah. And I think access to learning as well has changed enormously. I mean, you just want to learn whatever it is. It doesn't have to be tech, but you want to learn anything, you go on YouTube nowadays, or you just type bread tutorial and or coding tutorial, whatever it is, and you'll find it straight away. Everything's at your fingertips, and not just here but worldwide. And this makes a huge difference as well. So hopefully that means also many more women join the industry. Let me see. I've got an interesting question here. Do you think you had to work more to develop your career than your male colleagues?
Not necessarily. So as I said before, you know, my path to tech was pretty straightforward because I did a computer science degree, and that helped me a lot when I joined the tech industry. But before that, I had nothing to do with technology, or I had no idea about anything and related to technology. And I did 3 years of bachelor degree, and it felt like when I joined the tech industry after these 3 years, it felt that that wasn't enough. Because the career I chosen, it's a very technical career. So I'm software engineer. It felt like most of my colleagues, actually, they follow similar path. They come from computer science, but actually they had much more exposure. So they had actually more exposure to technology during the schooling. through the interest and generally. So I kind of felt in the very first few years that I had to work harder to catch up to the rest of the, to the guys. But I think that was just the very first few years. That was my experience.
Christina, any views on that?
Yes, I can concur with what Marta said, but from a young age, I wasn't really exposed to computers. So maybe if I grew up surrounded by computers instead of animals, maybe I would have chosen this path at a younger age. But the way things developed in my life, it turns out that I came to this path pretty late in my life. And yeah, it felt like I had to work more because I felt like I'm kind of left behind, like I have to hurry up to catch up because like someone who is 28 years old, for example, they were already working in the industry for 5 years, 6 years, and I'm just starting, So it felt a little bit like, yeah, I had to catch up all the time.
Helen?
Yeah, I think I agree with both Marta and Christina. It has felt harder in some ways. I think, like Christina on one of the earlier questions, she said, she questions herself, she doesn't push things. I think women don't push themselves forward for promotions, and I definitely have been one of those that hasn't really pushed that at certain times. So OpenBet has really opened my eyes. The structure we have here, the opportunities we have, the real ethos we have for promoting from within has really shown me that I can succeed. I can move up and grow in those roles in the same way as my male colleagues would. And I think that's really exciting. And we need as women to push ourselves more. And we're as good as, at least, as the men. So, they would ask for a pay rise, they would ask for a promotion. Why shouldn't we?
Absolutely. And it seems there's a common theme where you maybe had to catch up at some point because of maybe what you did originally. And I remember when I was a kid, when I was 13, 14, I got my first computer, and my friends, my male friends, also had a computer, and we got together on Saturdays and we would read it. One of us would read a listing, the other one would type it. If we had one semicolon out of place, it wouldn't work, but we'd go back to it. And my cousins, female cousins or friends, wouldn't be playing with computers, they'd be playing with other things. And although I went into catering and being a chef and so on, I eventually got back into IT. And I suppose I always loved it since a kid. I loved it, and it was easier. And again, it's going back to starting really early on and just make sure everybody is able and allowed to do anything they want at a very early age and think about any kind of job they want to do. And that guides me to another question. What advice would you provide to today's women who are just starting out in the industry, or girls? What advice would you give them? If you were given an advice to yourself, to your young self, what would you do?
I think I would say, believe in yourself. Listen to your own innate feelings about what your skill set is. Don't allow yourself to be talked across or questioned when that you know the answer. Push that. Don't let yourself be sidelined by anyone, regardless of whether that is a man or another woman. You know what you're capable of. Push that envelope. Do what you want to do and what you enjoy.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. I mean, you should just pursue your sort of interest and what you want to do. Be brave, but I also feel that you should not worry exactly having the right experience. Tech industry, it's just moving so quickly that no one has right experience. That's how it feels when you actually join. And as soon as you become an expert in something, that actually may be obsolete already by the time you are expert. So I would say just don't worry about having the right experience. Just if you feel like you do want to pursue technical role, and you may feel like you may not be up to the task or feel intimidated by the stereotype. I would say it's mostly the stereotype that gets you intimidated. Just go for it. the only thing you have to lose is just you may fail, but you may actually succeed. So that would be my advice.
Christina?
Yes, if I would give advice to myself, I would say just be more confident, try different things, and in the end, you will succeed, because if you're doing something that you like and you're really interested in something, you will just pursue it and will try to learn more, and this will give you, in the end, more confidence, and you will feel more accomplished.
Yeah, I find people that question other people, be it male questioning female or vice versa, are probably insecure themselves in their abilities, and therefore they try to question someone else's abilities to feel better, to be honest. So yeah, just be confident and brush aside, well, try to brush aside these people who will comment whatever comment they're going to make, because you will always have these kind of people. Just got one or two more questions here. What do you believe is essential for women to enter the tech industry? What is essential for them to do nowadays? Do you think that going through the usual university path and going through a degree, maybe in computing science, is essential, or do you think that nowadays it's pretty straightforward to not do this? Some of you haven't done this, so what would you advise in this aspect? Because obviously that is an important question.
Yeah, I'd say it's not obligatory to go through that traditional pathway. I think there's a lot of people working in the industry who have come from very different backgrounds, and you often find that their maturity in terms of the way they handle, problems and obstacles that come up is much better than those that have purely gone through the very classical technical university degree and don't have any real life experience. So yeah, I would say it's not essential. There's so many people out there that they're really bright, they're really clever, they can teach themselves, they can learn really quickly. So it doesn't matter what your background is. If you've got passion, that's what's key.
Absolutely. Martha?
Yeah, so the tech industry is like changing our life in faster than any other industry. So it does seems to be that it is essential that women actually are part of it and contribute to innovation, because actually that will affect our lives. And I think it is very more important even now, when the tech industry has like spread so much into areas that you can even, like healthcare, for example. So I would say, and it's also like a really growing industry. So it's going to become this huge employer. So it offers a huge opportunities. It would be a shame if women just sort of miss that.
Yeah. Christina?
Yes, from a pragmatic point of view, I do agree with Marta. It's a lot of jobs in this industry, and the women will lose a lot to just ignore this huge area of employment. Also, it pays pretty well, so it kind of establishes a redistribution of wealth between men and women, because if you choose a career path that pays well, it will lead to more changes in the future regarding to how female perceives themselves and what are their capabilities. Um, yeah, but also we do need women in a lot of areas, because and not only women, but a more diverse point of view, because it will influence the tech we will be using in the future. So there needs to be like a different point of view in this aspect as well.
Thank you. So the last question is, so I'll start with Helen. You mentioned, Helen, that you were working in linguistics and so on, and then you got into testing. And what was that? What sparked or what piqued your interest? What was it that made you love this? Love IT?
What do I love about testing? I think it was the detail. I have a very keen eye for detail. My thinking style, I love lists, ticking things off, and really delving into things. So looking at a piece of functionality, testing it, and then I think we realised the concept of regression testing and the fact that, well, we tested that 3 weeks ago. Oh, but we've had a couple of builds now. That's broken. We need to go back and we need to work out based on what they've changed, what we need to retest. So yeah, it was that level of detail and finding defects and liaising with the developers and understanding how come that had got introduced into the system and what I needed to retest when they gave me a fix. That just, yeah, it really met the sort of things that make me happy.
Good. And Marta, you went you had a degree in computing or related.
Yeah. So I had a degree in computer science, but before that I had no exposure at all.
So what?
Well, when I was growing up, I always preferred sort of STEM subjects, so like science, mathematics, and things like this. So then when I was deciding which career path I should take, yeah, I don't know, this tech industry just, come along, and yeah, I took a chance with not knowing really what I'm getting into. I just had a good feeling about it, and yeah, so I did the computer science degree, and then I joined tech, and yeah, I've never regretted.
And for you, Christina, because you also like Helen changed career effectively, what was the thing that sparked your interest?
I think for me it felt a little bit like magic. Before my degree, I had a lot of friends working in IT, and I was into this medium a lot. But actually, first time when I wrote a computer program, it felt a little bit like magic. Like you write some some code there, and the computer does something for you. So this was something that motivated me to work harder and to do more interesting things.
Yeah, I think the magic bit is for everybody, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, you ask a machine to do something and it does it for you, to the point of we're getting those amazing applications and games nowadays with just ones and zeros. It is magic, isn't it? So yeah, I understand. And I think for me it was pretty much the same as well. It's magic. So there you go. I think we're at the end of our discussion. So I guess we may have a few questions. Alex, I don't know if you've got anything for us.
Thank you very much. There's nothing come through yet, but I think if people want to put one in the chat now, I mean, first and foremost, thank you very much. It was super insightful. I think it's really interesting to hear the different backgrounds, the different journeys, and kind of the different experiences. I mean, throughout the week really, but this call definitely. From my perspective, I guess while we maybe wait for a couple of questions in the chat, is there any kind of stigma around being, a woman in tech that maybe you thought either before you got into it was going to be a concern, or something that now you kind of just think is either, complete nonsense and you don't see it, or something that is a genuine, thing to look out for, but that you can overcome? I mean, I guess that's a very broad question, but there's obviously quite a lot of stigma around kind of being women and non-binary in tech. And I guess I just kind of wanted to see your experiences with that through the kind of different levels, and whether you had noticed things or hadn't noticed things, whether there's anything that kind of sticks out to you when we talk about, certain stigmas and things like that.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky. The first couple of companies I worked for, certainly the first one I worked for, was very female oriented. There was several females in the management team, and they did look to have a good spread between men and women on the team. So that was a really good introduction. And actually, at the beginning, I didn't really think about it. It wasn't something I thought about at all. But I think as I've gone through my career and seen different companies and different attitudes, it does sometimes pop up into my head to think about, actually, this guy is not taking me as seriously as maybe he would if I was a man. He's not listening to what I'm saying, so I need to be stronger. I need to rephrase. But yeah, I think what we need to do is we need to be very confident in our own selves and that will project out onto the world as we go forward. And if you have issues with guys that you're working with, you notice that those unconscious bias and things are coming in, talk to them, go for a coffee and go, hey, when we had that conversation and you butted in, this is how that affected me. I had some good ideas and I wasn't able to discuss them with you properly because you thought that this other idea was better. Let's get an open level playing field.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and it sort of comes back to what you were saying earlier, I guess, around when you'd say in a conversation or something, and they take that as you
Yeah.
agreeing or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly an interesting one. I don't know if Christina or Marty you had anything to add, or whether Helen nailed it with hers.
Yeah, I think Helen has kind of give a good overview. How it is, how sometimes we are perceived, so yeah, totally agree.
Cool. Well, I was going to say, I think it completely kind of like resonates, and I think with like I say, the other stories we've sort of heard this week, and I think there's a lot of different journeys, a lot of different people in different stages of their careers, and I think one of the themes has been there's been sort of a lot of progress, but there is still a lot of progress to be made. So hopefully, not to be too biased, but hopefully things like this can help, and kind of people outside of organizations doing their bit, and it's not just kind of individual, it's much wider than that. So I can't see any questions in the chat, so I think what we can do is we can wrap up for now. I think as mentioned at the start, we've got the OpenBet channel on Discord, and there's loads of info, as well as being able to ask questions to the panelists today. You can find out about the hack theme, you can find out about the prizes, so make sure you join us there. If you're watching it back, make sure you put any questions you have there, and we can make sure they get answered. But I mean, I'd like to round off with just a huge thank you to you for giving up your time and kind of being here. Like I say, it's been super insightful, and hopefully everyone listening has felt the same.
Thank you. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much,
listening, everyone.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Cheers.
thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.